Today we welcome perfect home guy Tommy Hines, a man whose life journey spans 5 decades of transformation, reinvention, and deep inner work. From a childhood spent moving across continents to a lifetime of diverse careers, Tommy has gathered wisdom not from theory but from lived experiences. His spiritual path, shaped by scriptures, responsibility, and an all inclusive love for all identities, offers a grounded perspective on growth. This conversation invites listeners to explore how healing and self leadership can liberate us from victimhood and bring us closer to a more unified, compassionate way of living. Welcome to the show. It's such an honor to have you.
Thank you, Anna. It's a pleasure to be here as well. And what I've tried to do in my life experiences, I feel that the creator of the universe has helped me to understand the differences. And there's two kingdoms on this earth: the kingdom of love and the kingdom of fear. And a wise man that I consulted with back in the 1980s, named Dr. Dennis Waitley, who spoke to uh, people. He was a sports psychologist originally, but became the Apollo Moon Program psychologist, U.S. Olympic Training Center psychologist, etc. But Dr. Waitley used FEAR, FEAR, as the acronym for false education appearing real. Now, what that means is if you and I and anyone else listening, if we're walking through our lives utilizing the kingdom of love principles, or we utilize the kingdom of fear principles, the kingdom of fear leads us astray. The kingdom of fear leads us to places we don't want to go, where this world and the dark forces within it can create a lot of victims. And these victims are trapped in fear their entire lives. So what I've discerned is that um, there's many scriptures that have been printed and as part of the world history that discuss uh, freedom from fear. And thereby, love is actually what replaces fear. We cannot erase fear, we can only replace it with its alternative, which is love. And in the English language, unfortunately, love um, is just has one word, and in other languages, love could have three words. For example, there is a brotherly love. A brotherly love in Greek, I believe, is called philios. And that type of love is where people of like community and culture fellowship and believe in the same things. Then there's the carnal love, eros, which is the physical, sexual nature that we're all born to have, but we're not born to abuse. We're not born to worship it. We're not born to use it for anything but procreation is the original design intent. Um, but it still has value and purpose in teaching us that we don't want to focus there. We don't want to focus in carnal, eros. We don't want to focus in philios, brotherly love, even though those are important. We want to focus on agape love because agape, this type of love is unconditional and forgiving. So imagine, Anya, if more of us were were forgiving of each other's um, flaws, faults. Do you believe that we're all born with flaws and faults, Anya?
Yes, definitely.
Definitely. Yes, I do as well. I acknowledge my own flaws and faults, and I hope others, when they see them, hear them, experience them, whether it's my impatience, whether it is my inability to be a good listener sometimes, or I just get angry and maybe it's not a righteous anger. Maybe it's just a selfish anger. Um, we all deserve to be forgiven, uh, but we also have to acknowledge these flaws ourselves. So, um, one of the things that I have coming soon, there is a book coming to the marketplace in 2026, early 2026. This book is tied to an American movie which was produced in 1939, and it is a classic movie that's actually known across most of the world. It's called The Wizard of Oz. Have you ever heard of that, Anya?
Yes, I have.
Yes. So in The Wizard of Oz, it has a lot of spiritual symbolisms. We can also call it an allegory of our present time. Uh, in this movie, there is a young orphan girl. Uh, Many human beings across the face of the earth have or might be physical orphans. They may not have parents to support them, nourish them, raise them properly with good ethics and morals. Um, and then we can all be spiritual orphans because the body, as it was created, really doesn't exist without spirit. And spirit is in another Greek definition of spiritus, which is a Greek word for the word breath. So when breath enters our lungs, when breath leaves our body, when we inhale and exhale, that is spirit giving us life, brings oxygen in, takes waste out, breath, and we have no life without breath, without spirit. I've also um, I studied pre-medical education myself at a Williamsburg university called the College of William and Mary. It's been in existence since 1693 when it was first chartered in Virginia. And it is in Williamsburg, Virginia, which is actually an international destination. Many people travel to Williamsburg because of it's basically the origin of American culture and civilization. Um, when I say that, certainly we have native cultures here before, but the Europeans brought education, they brought books, they brought positive things, even though many in the world kind of think that colonialism is never good. Well, actually, many cultures have been improved by certain forms of colonialism. The thing that is the problem is selfishness and greed in people who are not spiritually living in that kingdom of love we referred to earlier. The kingdom of love is a servant to all. So if a soul wants to live in the kingdom of love, they must commit to several things. One, they must commit to being an eternal student. Secondly, they should commit to be a servant of others. And we're talking from a head of state, a prime minister, a president, whoever you want to name on down. They're supposed to be servants of the people. And when we commit to those things, we can have wise leadership. We can have much more peace on earth by uh, those where we respect the value of somebody who's conservative and we respect the value of somebody who's liberal because there's left and right divisions all over the earth right now. And my book is actually trying to use the Wizard of Oz screenplay, that story, to show us that just like the scarecrow, who is more, right brain centered and uh, thinking, analyzing, calculating, and the Tin Man in the movie represents the heart, which is more ethereal. It's the left brain side of human beings. And the lion was our spirit, courage. So actually, the three characters in The Wizard of Oz, the Scarecrow, Tin Man, and Lion, represent the three parts of a human soul: the mind, the heart, and the spirit. The spirit is our action. The spirit is, do we serve or do we take? Those who live in the kingdom of fear, they want to take. Just like the lion in The Wizard of Oz was, he was afraid, but he was also used his power and his image to intimidate. He wanted to put fear into others. And when you listen to that particular character describe himself when he was confronted, he confessed he didn't like himself. He confessed he did not love himself. He confessed he couldn't sleep at night. He was insomniac. He confessed that he scared himself. People like that all around us. There's people like that cowardly lion all around us. They are the bullies. We call them bullies today. These are really people who don't know love. They've never been loved before by parent, by teacher, by anyone else in their life that made a difference for them or that tried to nurture them in loving, unconditionally accepting ways. We all tend to be destructively criticized when others destructively tear us down and tell us we have no value, we have no worth, we have no talent, we're not pretty enough, we're not tall enough, whatever it is that someone wants to do to tear us down, we can stop being a victim of these bullies by actually doing two things. First of all, as the scriptures teach um, in the gospel, by the way, the Quran refers to the gospel of Yeshua, Prophet Yeshua. The Judaism also has the Torah, and there's Messianic Jews who believe in the Messiah Yeshua, and of course Christians. We all know Christians believe in Messiah Yeshua. And he simply taught unconditional love. He simply taught to love each other and forgive each other. In fact, love your enemy. That's the hardest person to love and forgive, is your enemy. But that's the teaching that brings love to others. So when we encounter bullies, cowardly lions, whatever we want to call them, these human beings have not really known true, unconditional, forgiving, unconditionally accepting love of their purpose and their value. And the prisons are full of cowardly lions. They're people who committed crimes. They think that taking from others will bring them greater wealth, greater stature, greater power, whatever it is, when all that is a lie. I believe, just like we started this interview, I kind of like to say not just that we're all flawed, Anya. I tend to say we all believe crap that's not true. So crap refers to waste. We all believe waste truth. There's waste truth being repeated all over this planet. And that particular opportunity for us to clarify and analyze is what's true and what's not true. Well, that's up to Anya. You have to go on your own search, just like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. You have to be searching for your home. And it's kind of interesting, but home is, most everybody agrees, home is where love is. The place that we feel and experience the most love, we like to call home. Some people, of course, were raised in a home that had parents that brought them life, that gave birth to them and fed them and protected them and gave them medical care when that was possible, and all these things. And these parents, some of them are flawed. Some of them don't know what they're doing. Some of them live in the kingdom of fear. And anyone living in the kingdom of fear, we have to discern that, forgive them, and we ourselves learn how to live in the kingdom of love, which is accepting others just the way they are. Everybody is at a different level of spiritual growth, of spiritual understanding, that these human being bodies that we live in today are temporary, but our spirit is eternal. Our spirit cannot be destroyed. Therefore, in order to grow spiritually, we have to nurture the spirit, the value and purpose that we have. And one of the ways to do that is for uh, anybody to look into things like gospel scripture, which is one of the most powerful ones to talk about love and forgiveness. Um, and I believe it's one of the things that will help unify religions on this planet, actually, because um, if Islam recognizes Yeshua as a prophet, well, they need to be teaching Yeshua within the Islam teaching system or religion or what have you. Uh, the conservative Islamists won't do that. The liberal Islamists will. They will potentially start teaching what Muhammad referred to in the Quran as Yeshua being a Messiah, Yeshua being a virgin born man, Yeshua um, actually sacrificing himself and returning to this earth again. But you won't know that unless you study it yourself, because it is history. It contains a lot of history, a lot of truth, a lot of facts. And to be a better discerner of truth, um, we need to study all kinds of scripture. Specifically, gospel scripture is valid because it's brought truth and life and the kingdom of love to so many who have experienced it and been exposed to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that kind of awakening shows listeners that spiritual growth often emerges through the quiet accumulation of wisdom rather than a single dramatic event.
Hmm. Well, we, my my brand is called Perfect Home Guy, and I've been in the mortgage home financing business for 22 years. And so my website, Perfect Home Guide, talks about connecting people in the United States to a full service, ideal mortgage lender who offers everything, including fixer upper homes. Because many homes that we buy that are used by somebody else, many homes need repair, need improvement, need updating, need maintenance. And many people do not have a large sum of savings in order to create these changes. And so my Perfect Home Guy brand allows people to buy the home and I give them the money to renovate it in the purchase scenario, or they can have owned it for the last 5 years. And even if they don't have equity, I can help them renovate it. Well, that got into renovating hearts and minds also because this book, The Wizards Don't Know, which is a yellow brick road from fear to perfect love and truth. So the book, when it comes out this year, coming up in 2026, is going to point the reader to understanding that we are all spiritual beings. I don't care if you think and act is more liberal or conservative, doesn't matter. We all have value and purpose, and we all need to respect each other's value and purpose. Because actually, when America was doing better with debating and education in the 1900s, we would we would actually have respectful debate between left and right opinions so that people could be persuaded with debate where nobody talks over each other, nobody shouts at each other, nobody gets violent when their opinion is not agreed with. And that's what we must return to. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
Hmm.
And you have said that we all are flawed but not cursed to remain victims. So, what does breaking free from victimhood look like on a spiritual level?
The remember the two characters in The Wizard of Oz was the Scarecrow and the Tin Man. There's only one thing that Tommy or Anya or anyone else listening to this audio is going to be able to have control of. We cannot control our politicians. We can vote them in and out. We cannot control our parents. They are an authority in our lives. We're supposed to respect and obey them. Even if they're wrong, well, sometimes we're too young to understand. Maybe they were right in the bigger picture, in the more adult picture. To be less and less of a victim, you have to remember you always have the power. You have one thing you're always in control of. What is that one thing you're in control of that nobody can take away from you? It is your ability to think something better, to find the good in something. Now, there's many disasters, there's many tragic events where someone takes a life from someone else. Somebody takes property, somebody takes all the wealth that somebody used to have, whatever it is. And so we're a victim of whoever allegedly took away from us. But even the scripture talks about the creator himself taking away from those who don't bear fruit. So there's a grow spiritually. And so a victim never need be a victim ever again the rest of their life if they learn to control what am I thinking about this right now? And speak words that are positive and growth related. Um, let's see. There is, mistakes and uh, the ability to fail is a learning experience. Thomas Edison, who invented the filament material for a light bulb, this American failed 5,000 times. I asked young school students when I was teaching them years ago back in the 80s, I said, students, how would you like to fail 5,000 times? They said, no, they wouldn't like that. They would feel very badly about themselves. I said, well, Thomas Edison failed 5,000 times. And when the reporter asked him, why do don't you feel like a failure? He said, failure? I'm a success. I know 5,000 ways not to make a light bulb filament. Do you? Think about that. Take any negative and you can make positive out of it, but you need wisdom and discernment. So to keep ourselves out of being a victim in this world, we need to control what we think and say. Because everything that we think and everything that we say either blesses us or it curses us. There's many around us that speak curses over us. And we've got to use discernment to rebuke those and to use the authority of the Creator to rebuke any curses that are spoken against us. So to be free from victimhood, Anya, is pretty simple. It's studying things like the kingdom of love and the gospels related to that, and learning how to be discerning that every one of us around each other, we have purpose and value, even though not many of us are educated to know that or understand that. And so we don't love each other. We don't respect each other. But if just a few of us listening to this podcast actually start doing that, the good word will get around and it'll grow, and people will start, many more people will start being positive and respectful towards the other, because we're all flawed. We all believe crap that's not true. Many religious doctrines, okay, keep us all divided and chopped up. But in actuality, the prophet Yeshua talked about hating religion. He hated the religious teachers of the day. He didn't hate them. He said you're more in danger of condemnation than these other people out here. So religious teachers have to be on alert that they are not necessarily uh, free from um, having judgment put on themselves, because they don't necessarily walk the kingdom of love like they should. They don't show mercy. They don't show forgiveness, etc. So these are the kind of things that we get out of our own spiritual growth. And if anybody in the audience eventually reads the book, The Wizards Don't Know, uh, a yellow brick road from fear to perfect love and truth, we can point you towards these positive things that will help you not have to stay a victim anymore.
Yeah, and your approach reframes responsibility not as blame but as empowerment, offering people a way to reclaim their direction without shame.
Hmm. Yes, we all, shame is tied to fear. We have shame and guilt because we don't think we're worthy. We don't think we're forgiven. So that's the beautiful part of it, about the gospel and the kingdom of love. So we all need to live in the kingdom of love from now on.
Mm-hmm. Yes, 100%. So thank you so much for sharing such thoughtful, expansive insight. Your journey reminds us that spiritual growth is not about perfection. It is about presence, responsibility, and compassion. For anyone listening who feels stuck in old stories or imposed limitations, let this conversation encourage you to step forward. Growth begins the moment you choose honesty over fear and possibility over victimhood.